What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Pro Speed Baseball. Now, we've recently released an approach video for more timid hitters, but what about hitters that are a little bit too aggressive? Maybe you're up at the plate and you feel like you're just great, and then you just swing at a terrible pitch and you just do this all the time. Well, you're going to need a little bit more of a hyper-focused approach up at the plate. You're going to need a little bit more of a game plan for that great aggression. Now, being an aggressive hitter is awesome, but like I said, you got to know where to focus it. And that's exactly what we're going to go over in today's approach video. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, guys, we got a lot of great content coming out this year, and if you don't want to miss out, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That's the only way you can get notified when we come out with new content. And make sure you hit that like button. That really helps us grow the channel. And if you guys have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Leave them in the comment section below. All right, guys, so I've gone over a similar approach to this in some other lessons, but I wanted to take a little bit deeper with a little bit more of a focus for aggressive hitters. So again, this is for the hitters that are just up there. Like I said, this is just, we've got a great swing. We crush it in practice, but we just tend to swing at pitches that get us out. And, we wonder why we do it. And if we were to just swing at good pitches, we'd be so powerful, and it'd be just fantastic. So how do we focus this energy? Well, in this approach, we're simply going to hyper focus what we're trying to do. We are going to get very specific. So if we're aggressive, if we're timid, we want to get a lot more aggressive. If we're aggressive, we don't want to get more timid. We want to get more focused on what we're trying to guide our aggression to. So what we're going to do is we are simply going to have a 0 and 1 strike approach and a 2-strike approach, just like the more timid approach that we went over in the previous video. We have a 0 1-strike approach going to be exactly the same, and then our 2-strike approach is going to be expanded on a little bit. But again, we're going to be a lot more specific with what we're trying to do. So the 0 and 1-strike approach is we are only going to swing at fastballs that are in the power zone, but directly down the middle of the plate. Now, this can get a little bit different if you're a hitter that likes to crowd the plate. We might want to change this up. Or if you're a hitter that likes to stand a little bit too far from the plate, we might need to change this up. So what I like to tell my hitters when they're learning this approach, or we're trying it out, or whatever we might be doing, is wherever you stand, we want to focus in on a fastball that's for your down the middle pitch. Not the plate's down the middle pitch, your down the middle pitch. So if you crowd the plate, your down the pitch or down the middle pitch may be on the outside corner of the plate. Now that's your down the middle pitch compared to where your body is. If you stand a little bit too far away from the plate, you're down. And again, this is fine. You can still reach the outside and all that good stuff. But your down the middle pitch is now on the inside part of the plate. So we're going to do this approach like you're standing in a neutral spot where your down the middle pitch is actually a down the middle pitch. And that's going to be a fastball that's right down the middle of the plate. That's what we're looking to do. So in this approach, 0 and 1 strikes, my height that I'm looking for is in the power zone, which a lot of our approaches should be between the belt and the knees. We want to hit the ball in the power zone, and we want it to be a fastball directly down the middle of the plate, meaning this ball has to pass over the front of the plate and the tip of the corner of the middle of the plate. That's how specific we're trying to get. Again, we're focusing that aggression. So if we perceive a fastball to get over the dead middle part of the plate, we are ripping at it as hard and fast as we can. We talked about 100% swing in the previous approach video. It's the same thing here. If we receive a fastball right down the middle, it's 100% as fast and hard as we can go. Now, guys, a little side note for this portion of the approach with the 0 and 1 strike approach is, this is something somebody showed me when I was playing minor league ball, is if we are looking at a down the middle pitch, well, technically, we're trying to hit this pitch, but technically we will cover a lot more of the middle of the plate or the middle of our down the middle pitch. So we're really covering a lot of the plate by looking for one single spot. So even though, you might say, well, what if they throw a pitch right here? Well, that's going to be a great pitch that I just let go. If you're looking for a down the middle pitch, most hitters that are really aggressive, especially hitters that are aggressive, will perceive this pitch to be right down the middle where this pitch is. It happens all the time. So we really cover the bulk of the plate. And again, this is going to really focus us in because of the height. Now, with 2 strikes on this approach, we're going to do a very similar thing. We are still looking for pitches out over the middle of the plate, but we're going to expand that a little bit. So instead of dead middle of the plate, we're going to think of everywhere but the corners. And again, this is for too aggressive of a hitter. We're thinking everywhere but the corners of the very tips of the corners of the plate. So now we're covering the entire middle of the plate but the corners. And again, this is a little bit of a mind psych because you'll end up covering the entire plate, but we're expanding that zone, and we're also going to expand the belt to knees from the knees to the shoulders. So the two-strike approach is we're covering a lot of ground, but we're pretty much, we're pretty much out of the, let's say, aggressive part of the approach, simply because we have two strikes on us. We have to be a little bit more two-strike minded. So now we're covering the bulk of the middle of the plate and the height of the shoulders all the way down to the knees. And essentially, you're going to hit anything that comes in that zone. Now, the one big change that I like for this approach, which I like for a lot of two-strike approaches, is the depth that we're going to hit this at. What I like to tell my hitters when they're trying this out, and you can change this up as you go. You can, if you feel like you can cover fastballs and off-speed pitches just by timing it up normally, that's great. But if you feel like you need a little bit more of a defensive approach that you can still hit the ball hard, I like to tell my hitters to time the ball up off of their belt buckle. That means we're trying to meet the ball off of the belt buckle. So we're trying to let this ball travel much deeper than we would if we were trying to release and hit it out in front and pound it. We are giving ourselves a lot of room for air to hit off-speed pitches. So the cool thing about timing it off the belt buckle is that any off-speed pitch will usually tend to be a little bit out in front of our timing and hit a really good release and hit it really hard. Hit a lot of home runs like this when I was playing, trying to hit it off the belt buckle, getting an off-speed pitch, and I actually often or catching it out in front and just pounding it over left field fence. Now, if I get a fastball, I'm pretty much going to be timing this fastball off of my belt buckle. So, I'm giving up a little bit of an inside pitch, but I'm going to be able to cover everywhere else in the whole plate. So you're giving yourself a ton of coverage, but the main thing with all of this, guys, is to take an aggressive hitter and give them a specific approach so that they can focus their attention. So 0 and 1 strikes, we are hyper focused on fastballs right down the middle. 2 strikes, we have very specific parameters. Now, this isn't something you want to just jump in right into the game, just like we talked about in the other approach video. We want to practice this in the 4-for-4 game portion of our practice, meaning when you are playing simulated games with your playing partner, with your whoever's throwing you batting practice or front toss, and you're practicing, hey, this is a game, I'm going to call balls and strikes, all that good stuff. What you're going to do is you're going to take your approach. Say, okay, this is my 0-1 strike approach. This is my 2-strike approach, and practice it. See what works. Tweak it to where you want it. But this is a great starting point to get aggressive hitters focused on what they need to be focused on, so that we can really take advantage of our aggressive hard swings, but put it into focus so that we can hit some great pitches. And guys, I can't tell you how important this is to work on this in practice, because if you do, you'll actually find that you might tweak it a little bit, or it might work perfectly the way that we explained it, and you can take it into the game and just run with it, and it's fantastic. So whatever you do, even if it's not this approach, have a great approach that works for you, and make sure you execute every single time you go to the plate. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this approach video, and if you did, stay tuned. I got an even better bonus coming up for you. I'm going to play a preview from one of our premium lessons from the website that you can get instant access to by simply clicking on the iCard that's popping up in the right-hand portion of your screen, or in the link in the description below. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to now start showing how our weight shift is involved with the release of the bat. We just simply need to understand exactly where we want to be in our weight shift. So we're going to get a lot more specific. We're going to be talking about the timing of getting the back pocket in front of the tee at the same time we're hitting the ball. But the first thing we need to do, guys, is we need to rep this out and make sure that we can definitely get the weight transfer that we need. So we're going to put our arms across our chest. We're going to get at least 100 repetitions